Welcome. This is my rotary table, and looking at this, it's not broken or anything. Now, my plan is to use these aluminium plates to make a dividing head attachment for this rotary table so that I can use it to cut gears. Now, I first looked at some dividing head plates for rotary tables, and for this specific rotary table, none of those will work, because if you look at this rotary table, it's got a 4-hole pattern here, which your other plates has only got 3 holes, and the shaft that's driving the table itself is not doesn't have 2D slots on here, or flats. So usually you'll have this lever arm like this that will slide in and out depending on which row of holes you're going to work on. Now in this case it's not going to work, so I will need to make an adapter to fit in over here. And then your 2 arms that you use to count your holes, that I also need to come up with a plan to see how I'm going to tackle that. So this is just a completely winging it type of project. I'll just build each part and solve the problems as I go along. Now I've got 3 of these plates cast. They're not perfect, but they will work. I've got one mounted here on the faceplate. Now, work holding on these thin pieces is quite an issue, because if you clamp it on the outside, you can't clean up here. If you clamp it on the inside, you can't clean up in the inside. But yeah, there's a bit of planning in your approach. Now, I've got it clamped on the outside for now. What I'm going to do is going to drill a hole in the center, and then clamp it with a bolt through the spindle, through the back, and then clean up the entire face. Once that is done, then I'll clean up the outside. Now remember, this faceplate of mine is sacrificial, so if I cut into it, it doesn't matter, I'll just clean it up if need be. And when it gets to a point where it's too thin, then I'll just recast it and make another one. Now, with these thin plates, it's quite an issue, especially warping. As you can see here, it's not touching the faceplate here. The side the same. So what I've done is I've just clamped it on the sides which do make contact as good as possible. Now I've got a reasonably in the center. I've done this by eye. So I think that should work. Right, so I hope you enjoyed this build. It's going to be a multi part series, because drilling all those holes, I will never make it in one day. Right. Okay, you would have seen that the part has shifted on the faceplate. The reason for that being I haven't clamped it down very hard, because if you clamp it down hard, it squeezes the plate flat against the faceplate, and then that bow is pulled flat. So when you do your cut on the front face, then it won't be true to the natural, uh, how can I say, when I taken the tension off, it will bow back to its original position, and if you clamp it too hard, you will land up with a bow again. By clamping it down lightly just before it starts bending, that's just enough to get it cleaned up. You'll to take that bow out of the plate, but it must also be such that it doesn't fly off the faceplate. It's a very minimal amount of rock on this plate still. So what I'm going to do now, once I've finished the surface here, I'll turn it back. But this part, it's not super critical to be 100% flat. I think if I'm going to use a feeler gauge, I'll probably find it's 0.01 millimeters run out, which I don't think it's a train smash. Just want to get rid of these burrs here. Currently only lining it up by eye, because I'm not at the point of any critical features. You can see how much of bow is in the part here. Almost there. Okay, now I'm gonna get comments about inclusions in the aluminium. Now, this has only gone through one melting cycle. That's why there's quite a bit of inclusions in there. Usually, if I want clean aluminium, I need to melt it down at least twice, sometimes 3 times, depending on how much of dirt was on the cans which I melt to cast these things. But it's not gonna hurt much. It's aesthetically not pleasing, but what can you do? To melt it, I was in a hurry when I did this part because it was going to rain. Because we've got a cold front that was moving through, so the rain and stuff was chasing me. The other two parts should have less inclusions. That went through a second cycle, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, with this side flat, I'm gonna turn it back around again, because now I've got a flat surface to clamp against. Pull it against the faceplate, and then take out that little bit of runner that I've got left, because I still have a 0.5 mm to remove here, because my end goal is to make all the plates 7 mm thick, and currently it's at 7.5 mm. Surface finish is also better, even though it looks like a surface of the moon. Okay, I'm at 131.3. So I'm going to opt for a nominal size of 131 millimeters, so that I can bring all 3 plates to the same dimension. There's a tad over. Can do a light chamfer here. That's enough. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clamp the OD here on the perimeter, then take out the bolt, and then do the inside features. I've placed the washers underneath with the round side down onto the part so that it doesn't mar up my part when I clamp it down. Okay, now I'm going to remove the bolt because I need to cut the inside feature here. I don't have enough clearance to get the bolt out the front, so I need to around the back. I need to take it out the front. But before I can do that, I first need to remove the nut here because it's a bit long. lathe. I'm going to do the inside features. I'm at 23.4 and I need to take it down to, or open it up to 33.1. $26.13. Five millimeters to go. very close. So I'm going to take a spring pass now. I need to put it back in because I still need to chamfer this edge here. Just want to clamp the one side lightly. Now my drill chuck has got a taper on the front, which is the only taper that I can find that's big enough to center this hole here. So I'll just have to go with it. Now this is quite a process to get this a chamfer on the outside. Where is the toe now? Because now I need to clamp it on the outside in order to center the inside, and then clamp the plate on the inside again after centering it with the drill chuck, and then I can remove the clamps. Still looks out. Right, I'll need a dial indicator. Okay, I've got it dialed in with the dial indicator as close as possible. There's some surface or pitting on the inside, inclusions, so it's making life a bit difficult. But now I'm ready to clamp it down with the rod again, and then remove the clamps on the outside. Right, I've removed the clamps on the outside. I've clamped it on the inside. It's a bit wobbly, but it doesn't matter as long as the part is running through. And that's it, one part done. Okay, now it's for the nasty bit, and that's to drill all the holes in these plates. Now I'm going to start with the 4 locating holes to bolt it to the table. Now this is usually in a production shop. This type of work will be given to a appy apprentice, and I've looked everywhere, I can't find one in my shop, so I'm stuck with this. Now what I've done is I've clamped the outsides down. I've got a little piece of plywood in between sandwich in here, so that I don't drill it to my table. I've center found it with the clamps on, and then after center finding I've put a bolt through so that I can remove the clamps. So that's how I locate the hole in the middle, but I can't leave the clamps here because it will be in my way. The bolt of a couple of washers in the center is more than sufficient. It's only a couple of holes, a couple of million holes. Okay, just something to note. When you edge fine in the center of a bore, especially if it's a small hole, remember that if you offset by a little inside the bore, your edge finder will climb on the one side, and it's basically like almost like a climb cut and a conventional cut. It will throw out the edge finder. There will be an error. So what I usually do is I do one side, find center, and then do the other side, and then come back to the original one and redo it. And every time I've done it this way, I find that there is an offset error from the first operation. So it's best to do it twice. I've done it twice in both directions to make sure that when my edge finder kicks out, that the reading on the DRO is the same on all 4 corners. Alright, so I'm gonna drill the 4 holes. I need to find out if it's I must dig out the bolts and see if I need to countersink them, what they look like, and then I'll start there. Okay, they're all done and ready for action. Now the plate with the most inclusions was the one that I've used for the most holes. So that's not as obvious, but you can still see it by eye. But it doesn't really matter. The plate is functional. The other two came out very well. As you can see, there's quite a bit of holes. Now this was around 5.5 days worth of work, including the crushing of the cans and cleaning up the aluminium, melting it down, and casting these discs. And I must say it was quite a test of endurance and a lesson in patience. The drilling was quite frustrating at times. I started off with a plate with the most holes, so that every day that you have less and less to drill, and motivating yourself to get done with the plates that's got the least amount of holes. And if I started with this one, I think I would have postponed this one for quite a while, because the drilling takes quite a lot out of you. Not because it's hard work, but it's monotonous, and you spend hours and hours drilling and changing tools in the chuck. So yeah, now I must figure out the rest of the bits and bobs that needs to go into that accompanies these plates to make them work on a rotary table. But that will be a video for another time. So I hope you enjoyed this build. Until next time, cheers.